Okay, let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way podcast. My name is Tim, and thanks for joining us again on an episode of the show. So before I get started, I do want to ask if this episode or any episode that you listened to in the past has been impactful to you in any way. The only thing I would like you to do is share it with one other person that you think could benefit from it. And I hope you took something from it. So if you did, I would love to connect with you some way. My Instagram is there on the screen, warriors_way16. You can comment, send me a message on any of the videos if you're watching them on Spotify or YouTube, and I would love to connect with you. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Cale, and as seems to be a theme with most of the guests, I was introduced to Cale through a friendship with Doug Moore. So it's another one of my running buddies, and I met him last year at the Mid-State Mile, which is the last man standing ultra marathon down in Tennessee that we've talked about a couple times on here with a few guests. And we're a part of a men's group that we is through a messaging app that we encourage each other both physically and spiritually to become better versions of ourselves. So Cale's in that group as well. And Cale and I have a lot of similarities to a lot of things that we've done through life. So we have not really talked about details on what we're going to discuss today. I kind of just want it to be just this free-flowing, genuine conversation, which is most of these shows. So we'll get into it. So Cale, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to jump on and talk with me this evening. And why don't you tell the people listening, who is Cale Jackson? Like, where are you at? What do you do? Give me some history on who you are.
Oh, thanks for the intro, man. I'm excited to be on here, man. Thanks for having me on. Honored to be here. And yeah, we have a lot in common, a lot to talk about. I'm excited. I guess a little bit of who I am. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Georgia, from the South, born and raised in Georgia, Fayetteville, Georgia. I live in Cumming, Georgia now. Um, but yeah, I'm 29 years old. Um, I am not married yet, but that may be coming soon. But yeah, I own a lawn care business. I stay busy with that pretty good. Ultra run like you, Tim, and a lot of our friends. And yeah, I love Jesus, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
So I knew you. I mean, I guess we've never talked about you owning a lawn care business, but I've kind of picked up on it from knowing you for a while. So how long have you owned your lawn care business, Cale?
This is going on year 3
Awesome, man. And
doing it myself.
what'd you do before that? Did you always do lawn care and you just started your own business, or did you do something else before you started that?
Dude, I've had so many jobs, but I've yeah, in the past I've done landscaping for years. I've worked for companies, multiple companies. I've worked on the grounds at many golf courses. I was in sales. I had a couple sales jobs, and then was craving the outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it. I love everything about it.
So owning my own lawn care business was like one of the first real jobs and careers that I ever wanted to do. I grew up and I was mowing lawns from probably like 10 years old, 11 years old. My grandpa would pick me up from soccer practice, and throughout the summers, he would drive me to all my different lawns that I was doing with my lawnmower bungee corded out of the back of a Taurus. And he would drive me to it. He'd sit there in the driveway while I did my lawns. I'd have to pay him gas money. And, there's just something about it that brought me a ton of joy and fulfillment. Like when you can like take care of a good lawn and you walk away, you can see instant results in the work you did. And I just really enjoyed doing that. And I did it for a while after high school. Um, and I was just never very good at like marketing myself. So it's like if somebody came to me and they asked me to do their lawn, I would get a job, but I had a real hard time like going and asking people if they would consider me. I'm like, well, I know they have this company doing theirs and I know they have this, and I was like, I've tried to avoid confrontation pretty much at all costs. So like going and trying to steal customers from other lawn care companies or something was just something I wasn't good at. And so it's like, man, if I'm not going to be good at like selling myself and like getting the customers, I'm probably not going to make good money at this doing, a couple a week. So it was nice in the summer because it was, enough money to give me gas money and stuff for like, going to the fair and the derby. And I had my own spending money, but it was never like I could sustain myself. So, um, that's a very tough career owning your own business, especially in lawn care. At least up here, and I assume it's the way down there. It's a very competitive field. Is it like that down there?
Oh, dude, you have no idea. It is, first off, I can relate to everything you just said about having the fear of getting the customers. And dude, I've worked through all that and continue to work through it. I am, each year I'm kind of growing and learning from mistakes. And because it's one thing to like, yeah, I know how to do the work. I can cut grass. I can make your lawn look great. It's the getting the customers and getting over the fear of knocking on that door, or I know they have a customer, or I know they have a company, so I'm just not going to ask them. Like you never know. And that's one thing I'm learning is the on the business side of it is what I continue to have to work on and grow in. Having to own the business, or I'm owning it now, doing it myself. It's like there's so much fear in it, and but it's just like life, you know. You just gotta roll with the punches and keep moving, man. It's just like running and everything else. But to answer your question, it is very, very competitive. Um, I'm in like a really I'm in North Georgia, but I'm kind of at the foothills of the mountains, and there is a lot of yards to cut, thankfully. So there's business for everybody. But yeah, I mean, it's very common to be on a street. There's two other companies you're on the same street, you know. But yeah, I love it, man. That, like you said, there's something about it, and it keeps me really busy. It keeps me. It is. I'm super ADD and ADHD, so like sitting at a desk all day, I will go crazy. And so, just having something to do and to like just let your mind go is has been really good.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I'm a bit of the same way, and when I get the chance to go out and mow my yard, I mow my yard, I mow my neighbor's yard, just because I want to, and it's like one of those things where like they're doing me a favor by letting me have more time on the mower. So I definitely get that. So, born and raised in Georgia. Um, so tell me a little bit about how you grew up. You mentioned faith is a big part of your, what defines you. So, did you grow up in church? Did you like? How was it growing up for you, Kale?
Yeah, man. So I come from a big family. I have five siblings. So there's six of us. So there's five boys and a girl. My little sister, she's the youngest of five boys. She's tough as heck, and we love her. But yeah, so I grew up in a big family. I'm the oldest. I'm fourth. So I got three older brothers and a younger brother. And yeah, we grew up going to church, like Southern Baptist down in Fayetteville, Georgia. And we grew up going to the Wednesday night church, Sunday night or Sunday, and then the Wednesday night. Bless my mom's heart getting us all ready to go. We're all close in age too. There's like 32, 31. There's 33, 32, 31, 29, 24, or 25, and then 23. Those are the ages. I know it's a lot. But yeah, my mom had it. She's a warrior, and she's awesome. I had a great childhood, man. Really. I mean, can't complain at all. And we grew up in big sports family. My dad was a high school basketball coach growing up, so I grew up basically in a basketball gym at all his practices. We all played sports. basically whatever sport was in season, it felt like one of us was playing. So like sports was a huge part of my childhood, and so was church, and have a lot of great memories down there in Fayetteville, and yeah, it was a great childhood. I had a really good childhood.
As you're saying that, it just it's hard not to like think back at how you're raised, and it's like I was similar. Um, my family dynamic wasn't the same, but like being raised in the church was the same. So like my grandpa was a Baptist pastor, and uh, yeah, we lived at the church. My uncles were my basketball coach, so yeah, we were in the gym every single day, or at the park playing basketball, and they really poured into me. So like when you look back at that, same thing. If there was a sport to play, me or my brother were playing it. Soccer, basketball, baseball. We hated baseball, but we still played it because it was like, what else? You're just gonna go home after school and not go to baseball practice? Like that's weird. So just play baseball. Our team was never very good, but we had fun. Um, so you are one of six. You're born in church. You had a great family, great upbringing. Um, Tell me a little bit about like growing up. What were you like in high school? Yeah, you said you played sports. Did you always like enjoy running? Is that something that's kind of stuck around since then, or was running something you kind of fell into as you got older?
Oh, dude, I hated running. I hated running, and I still will say I hate running most days. Um, people ask me like, "Dude, I don't know how you run. I don't know how." I'm sure you get this too. I hate running. I don't know how you do all that. And I'm like, "Dude, I hate running too. It stinks. I never want to run." But we can get to that. But
Yeah.
going to I was a crazy kid, and I was a tornado, and I was the guy. I mean, I drove my teachers crazy in school. They did not know what to do with me. I made it really hard for the teacher to do her job, and like to a point where my mom and her were like, "What do we need to do? Does he need to get on a medication? Does he need to like what do we need to do because he cannot sit still?" And had a terrible attitude. Was really good in I was really good in sports, and so that was kind of like my identity growing up. Is like I was always a really good athlete in whatever sport I was playing. I just excelled naturally. Didn't work hard. Just naturally, had that gift. And I was a horrible, horrible kid. Like I laugh about it now of how horrible I was. My brothers beat me up, and just I'm really tight with all my brothers and sisters and sister. Um, but yeah, I mean, there was yeah, I had a terrible attitude, and growing up, got in trouble in middle school all the time. I was in the ISS, just terrible in school, dude. I didn't pay attention, and going into high school was just the same thing. And then getting into high school, we moved up to Cumming, Georgia. Sorry if I'm like skipping through.
No, that's
Just
good.
kind of I'm just kind of going on the timeline here. We moved to Cumming, Georgia. Me going into high school, and that was a big deal for me. I moved up to Cumming, and I didn't know anybody, and I just kind of got found the people playing sports, and again was a terrible dude.
So when you say terrible dude, were you like, I mean, was it just like the attitude and getting in trouble in school, or was there like more? So when you said you moved up to Georgia, I was a little younger than you when I moved, but when I was like in, I think going into fifth grade, um, so my mom and dad were married, or they got divorced right after my sister was born. So I think I was like 4 or 5 maybe, and they got divorced. They got remarried when I was 10 to each other, and my dad he drove for Roadway and he got transferred to Orlando. And so we up and moved to Orlando. And I've got a great relationship with my parents now. Um, but from 5 years old to 10 years old, we really didn't see my dad. Like he wasn't a part of it. So like my mom and dad get remarried at 10 years old. Like to me, this was almost like having a new man in the house. And we transferred to Florida. Similar to you, my entire life was in Toledo, Ohio. And we moved. I had no one. And I found the kids that played sports. Um, and all of those kids were the wrong kids to hang out with, especially for a 10, 11, 12-year old. You know, those are some of the most formidable years of your life. Well, other than like, you know, early high school. And I found those people and I went from being like this, people would probably consider me like, you know, an angel of a kid before that to just like a nightmare. Not necessarily for my parents, but for like school, for the way I acted. Like I went hard left, just trying to fit in. So like, did you have some of those same things when you moved? It was just like you said you were a terrible kid. Was like, where was it trying to fit in, or was it just more of like the school kind of, um, you know, acting out?
Yeah, when I say terrible kid, maybe I'm being a little too hard. I wasn't the worst kid. I definitely acted out. Moving up to coming, I definitely felt everything you just said. I was kind of lost, and everyone knew my family growing up. Like such a big family, most people knew the Jacksons. And moving to coming, my dad took a job, coaching job, so I had him at the school, but I didn't know anybody. And I moved in the summer, going into the summer, and I was in summer sports, summer workouts, and I kind of tried to fit in there. Just more so just trying to fit in and ending up with the wrong kids, you know, the wrong crowd and that weren't really doing the things that I should have been doing. And definitely acting out. Maybe as I've gotten older and look back, I was definitely acting out to get attention. To I thought I was when I moved into high school, I thought I was really cool and like was just kind of cocky and probably looked down on some kids. And it's just terrible now that I'm older, the person I was. But yeah, it was definitely lonely trying to fit in, trying to find your crowd. You know how it is. It's not easy out there going into a new high school.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. So my story, we kind of like after Orlando, we were there for, you know, fifth and sixth grade. We moved back halfway through my sixth grade year back to Toledo, and now I'm back in this Christian school that my grandpa runs the church at, and I am a totally different kid than left. Like I remember when I moved to Orlando, I got beat up um, on the playground one day because um, my curse word at the time was "holy cow." Like if I said "holy cow," that was like me saying like "holy sh" or something, you know. And so I got beat up until I would swear, and so I started swearing because I literally got beat up. Siri's trying to Siri's trying to talk to me right now. Sorry, uh, but I was literally getting beat up until I would swear. So I started cursing like a sailor at like 12 years old. So when I moved back home, all my friends were like, they were raised the same way I was. I got suspended like 3 times that first year from school for swearing and for cursing people out. And I think I got suspended every year after that, at least once a year till I graduated for some form of like anger issue or swearing or something related to that. So like from sixth grade to 12th grade, it was at least once a year, sometimes more than once a year. I was getting kicked out of school for my attitude and my mouth and the way I handled things. Um, so it's like, yeah, it's all those things where, you know, I was, like you said, I was definitely seeking attention. I was trying to be someone that I wasn't, and I was doing a really good job at it. Um, so you go through high school. What happens after high school?
So I'm going through high school and I was a pretty good basketball player, and I the season ended and kind of had a couple very small schools kind of looking at, like, we sent some tapes to, and they invited me to work out with them, and this is kind of when my senior year of high school is when I started smoking weed, and started smoking weed and drinking a little bit, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And then through the sports, basketball ended, and like basketball was like my identity in a way of like, this is who I am. I'm the guy that's good at basketball, or I'm the guy that's good at sports. And that's kind of who I was. So when that kind of came to an end, and going to play in college was off the table, I got into the community college in our town, started going to school, quickly learned that I was smoking. This is when I started smoking weed like heavily, like all day, every day heavily. And it just was, it didn't mix well when you're trying to go to college. And I remember I got a 32 on my first math test. And I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. And so, yeah, after that, I was like, okay, I got to get a job, and kind of go on from there, and just try to get a job and try to grow up. And that took many, many years. And then that would be the beginning of me going down a kind of a long, dark road of drug addiction and alcoholism, and just being going down that road.
Yeah. So when you said this just isn't me, you meant school, not the drugs. The drugs are totally you.
The
right?
drugs were absolutely me. I have
Like this is
arrived.
me, the
Like
academics that
I
can kick
can
rocks.
I can remember Tim thinking, school's not for me. I'm just gonna sell drugs and just be a stoner. That's gonna be me. Like, I've made it. That's kind of where I was at 18 years old.
Well, yeah. I mean, for a while there, everything has its pleasure for a season, right? And it's like that lifestyle looks really good, and it definitely has this temptation to it. So you dropped out of school, I assume.
I dropped out of school. I didn't make it one semester.
Well, so you drop out of school, you're gonna go get a real job, but you're still living like a college kid, you know. So you said that starts you down this, long path. What's that path look like?
So I remember getting out of college, basically just totally quitting. Just stopped showing up. My mom had to call the school and do that deal. And I remember meeting with them saying, this isn't what I'm going to do. And yeah, drugs. And I started with weed, and was with weed for a long time, and then I got into some pills, and but was really like throughout the whole. So it started on this. It was about a 9 years of doing drugs and drinking, alcoholic. I mean, it got really bad, and I basically went from job to job. I'm living at my parents' house, going from job to job. I'm burning relationships with all the people that I thought were my friends. I'm making terrible decisions. I go from, like I said, job to job, and I can't stay sober a day in my life. And yeah, that's kind of like it. It was about a 9 year stretch of I went to a rehab, and that didn't really stay sober after that. I was 22 and I went to rehab for the first time. I was in a psych ward at 19 because I got into some bad stuff, and was totally whacked out of my mind. And my again, still living, just putting my parents through hell. And yeah, without getting too into the weeds, it was bad, man. And I knew this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, getting raised in the church, and I had always believed in God. I'd always believed, and I never didn't believe, but I never really had a relationship with God. Like, I had always gone through the motions of, we'll show up to church Sunday night or Sunday, show up Wednesday night, look good. Going through high school, I'd show up to church. I was in the high school church stuff at my church, pretty involved in that, just to really see my friends. And then I kind of pushed God out. But all along, God's with me through this whole thing. And looking back I'm almost 4 years sober now. I'll be 4 years sober in September. And it took a lot to get there, and I hurt a lot of people, and it basically got to a point where I went to rehab because I couldn't stop smoking weed, and I got in on some Xanax pills and was drinking a lot. And I would go to rehab for the first time. I was 22 years old, and I get sent out to Arizona to the aftercare. They sent me to another rehab, and dude, I did not want to be there. I was the guy that was too cool. I'm like, I don't have a problem. I'm good. I'm just here to please everybody else. I'm just here to get my family off my back and to kind of clean it up and then go back. And then of course, that's short lived. COVID hits, and I'm back doing exactly what I was doing. And through all this, I'm working these crappy jobs, still living with my parents. And yeah, there was some small sober stints in there. But yeah, it was then I'd yeah, it was rough, man.
So, what was the ultimate like? First of all, thank you for you know opening up about that. There's a lot of people that struggle with this stuff, and a lot of people go through life like, hey, I don't really have a problem. Like I could, it's just alcohol, it's just weed, it's just fill in the blank. Like I could quit whenever I want. Um, but that's not the truth. They can't go a day without it, right? And the enemy wants us to believe we're fine, but kudos to you for recognizing that. Hey, there's something that's wrong here, and I got to change it. Um, for me, it was never like I quit drinking when I turned 19. uh, like I was drinking on and off through high school. I wasn't smoking. Um, I would like bum a cigarette or steal a cigarette from someone's parents or something every now and then. But I liked soccer too much to smoke heavily because I thought it was going to destroy my lungs. Um, but drinking was like, oh, that's just my liver. That won't keep me bad from soccer, so that should be fine. Um, but when I turned 19, I kind of like pulled a 180 and went a different route. And that's when I quit smoking, I quit drinking, I quit doing everything the first time. And then a few years later, it's like, well, this isn't going to be a problem now. I can probably just do it occasionally. And the occasional drink turns into, more occasionally. And then it turns into something that you're doing every day again. And it's quick. And same with smoking. Cigarettes was one of those things where I just, uh, I thought it was such a disgusting habit. My grandma grew up smoking. Like whenever we were around her, she was smoking, and it was so gross. Like we would beg her. We would like beg her, crying. Not my grandma that was married to the pastor. My other grandma. Have to specify. We weren't that kind of Baptist. Um, but my other grandma, she would smoke like crazy, and we would beg her to quit smoking. And so you would think, like, seeing how it took a toll on her, that I would never smoke. And, eventually I'm working construction after high school and I'm smoking like crazy. And it's addicting. And that was something I battled even into my adulthood, even while I was dating my wife now. Is when we started dating, she was smoking. And so it got to the point where we'd be out at the bar drinking and I would have a cigarette. And then it got to the point where I didn't want to ask her anymore. So I'd get my own pack for the weekends. And then it got to be where I'm buying several packs throughout the week. And before you know it, a couple months go by and I'm like, okay, this is out of control. So I'm thankful that I was able to quit that. But I have an addiction that I still to this day struggle with. And that, like my addiction from childhood has taken root in the form of my food. And that's one where you can't just give up food. You can't just not eat. Food is like the most socially acceptable drug there is because, you got to do it 3 times a day and it's all these, it's everywhere. You need it to live. And I've always, and I to be completely honest, I probably need to spend some time talking to a professional about my addiction to food. But that's always been a big part of my life is my addiction to food. So like That's a tough one because it's not where it's seldomly talked about in church. Like they don't preach against food. They preach against alcohol. They preach against drugs, and we applaud people for going to rehab and getting on the other side of that. While a lot of people are still struggling with something that is just this thing that they're dealing with. Um, so kudos to you, number one, for getting through that. But I'm assuming there was like 4 years sober 4 years ago. Take me back 4 years ago. What was the big change that finally landed you in a position that this was a change you wanted to make for the long term?
Man, great question. Great question. I remember I had a really bad kratom addiction at the time. I don't know if you've ever heard of kratom. I had a really it's something you buy at gas stations.
Mm.
It's like heavily marketed down here, down in the South, and it's just taking people down. I remember I was 25 when I got sober, and I was working a sales job, working for my family, and I was kind of high functioning in a way, of showing up to work. I'm working straight on commission, so just I was just using kratom all the time, all day, smoking weed all day, and could not quit to save my life. And I knew, like from the outside looking in, I remember my parents thinking, "Oh, he's," maybe they were thinking this. I don't think they ever told me, but I was going to work every day, living in the basement. Was going to work every day. I wasn't really drinking much at the time, but I was heavy on the kratom addiction. I was just in the trenches. I just the only way to I was going to be able to quit this is I'm going to have to go get help again. And I did not wanna go, but I knew I just remember it was a car dealership, and I remember being on the car dealership lot of just, like, crying out to God of just and this happened many times, like, it was no longer fun. Like, I did not wanna keep doing this. I was basically dying, and, I remember looking up just, like, at God, just like, "Please get me out of this." Just on my knees, man. Just it was really bad, like, I could not quit. And I think I had like a vision of like I'm gonna if I keep doing this, I may show up at 30 and I may go 5 years and be in the same spot, and that terrified me. Of like I'm gonna wake up at 30 and be in the exact same spot. I had no money. I was making good money at the time. I was like from the outside looking in, I had a decent job. People think I'm saving money, and it's all going to this addiction, this hidden addiction. And it had so much shame. I had so much guilt. I was living two different lives. I was even kind of starting to run in that time while using every day. That's a whole story in itself. And so I just remember just begging God to get me out of this. And I think what I had that moment of like, I can't do this for another I couldn't do it for another day, man. And so I remember calling my mom. I called a guy I'd met at my first rehab. I called a guy. He was the only guy that I knew I felt at that time that wasn't gonna judge me. I'm like, "I know I can call this guy and tell him because I didn't want anybody. Because a lot of people in my life knew Cale has been to rehab before. We don't really know how he's doing now,
Hmm.
but I remember calling this guy and saying, "Hey, man, I'm getting I'm down bad, and I'm in deep on this addiction," and he just basically encouraged me, and I think God put that guy in my life way back when, and he showed up in a big way, 3 years later, and he encouraged me to just give that rehab a call. And I remember talking to my parents, and they were super encouraging, and that was a huge deal for me because I heard a lot of people in my addiction, heard a lot of people, and a lot of people gave up on me, wrote me off, and then God was with me the whole way, man. And my parents never gave up on me. My family never gave up on me, and I did a lot of things that they should have given up on me for, and they did not give up on me. They were super supportive, and I remember packing. The rehab told me they had to do this phone screen interview, and they told me, "All right, be here at 7:30." I remember it was like 3 p.m. I think I even went on a run just because that's a whole long story we can get into if we have time. I was like I went on like a walk and I told my mom it was time to go. It was time to go to rehab. And I told my mom, I said, I don't think I can do it. I think I've jumped the gun here. Because my addiction and my alcoholism thinking is it tells me I don't have a problem. So somewhere in my mind, it tells me I don't. It's the only disease I believe it to be a disease of addiction, and it's the only disease that tells me I don't have a problem. I don't have a disease, and so that little mind, the enemy. It can be the enemy. It can be anything. It tells me I'm good. I've jumped the gun. I don't think I should go. And my mom looked at me, and I could see it today, man. She looked at me in the most serious face and said, "You're going. You want this. You're going." And it's history, man. Like I go to rehab and I take it serious for the first time. I listen. I'm there 2 weeks, and I literally had the I that was the lowest point of my life, and the detox from kratom was the absolute worst thing I've ever been through in my life, and I felt like I was dying for about a week straight, and could not sleep. Was just it was like 90 degrees outside, and I'm in 3 hoodies and 2 sweatpants. It was rough, man, and I think that pain and that detox, and I think that's just what I had to go through, and to get to the other side, and experiencing that pain made me never want to go back. They say a lot in recovery is play the like of never forget that feeling, and I play that back all the time of like, man, that was I remember that pain very well of what I was in, and yeah, and then that's kinda I'd jump to rehab and I'd get out, and I met some guys that were sober and kinda showed me the way and basically walked with me with my hand and said, "This is what you need to do if you wanna stay sober. You need to do this, and this is gonna help you stay sober," and I listened to them, and I think that's where God showed up big time. I think getting sober connected me. Like God showed up I had a moment in that rehab of because God was with me the whole time, and I would throw these Hail Mary prayers when I was in trouble, when I was using and drinking. Like I'd be like, please don't let me get arrested again, or please God, like help me in these crazy Hail Mary prayers. And I wasn't talking to God. Like I said, I didn't really have a relationship with God until I got sober. I think all that stuff was blocking me from really experiencing God. I was the guy, Tim. I was the guy that I would smoke. I would wake up and I would smoke weed and I would read my Bible because I had so much guilt and shame. I would force myself to read my Bible. I remember doing the proverb a day. I would read one proverb every single day and I was high the whole time. And like my Bible today is lit up with highlighter from, like, reading that, and, like, I got I even 'cause I just knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I had no, like, the stuff I was using is just a joy killer, man. You don't experience any joy, and I couldn't feel, man, and I just remember getting in and just, like but all of that was just kinda being blocked by not being sober-minded and not having a clear mind, and kinda going back to, like, yeah, I got out of the rehab and I'm sober now and I'm finally clear-minded and I'm people are telling me, You can't do this alone. You can't do this your way anymore because your way got you in jail. Your way got you to rehab. Your way like, you can't do this by yourself anymore. You gotta have some type of help." And that's where I had to find God, and it wasn't really a religion. I was raised Christian and I am a Christian today, but for me, it's more about a relationship. And I got to have a personal relationship with God if I'm going to have any type of success in this life. Because even today, when I try to do things on my own and I try to do things Kale's way, dude, I am not worth a crap. And God humbles me every time I'll go through seasons of my life today, and you can shut me up in a minute, but I'll go through seasons in my life today where if I'm not careful enough, dude, I can wander, dude, and I'll get up, fist bump God in the morning, and start working, and just I'll go, sometimes weeks at a time, and I'm like starting to get irritable, and I'm starting to feel crazy, and I'm sober, and I'm running, and I'm doing all these things, but like, where's my walk? So
Yeah, it's so true. It's like that's how the relationship side of it is real. It's like you're in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. We're all in relationships, right? And that relationship is only as good as the time you invest into that relationship. So if I tell everybody about my wife and I tell her how much I love my wife and I tell her everyone, how important she is to me, but I'm not actually spending any time with her developing, you know, learning what she's interested in, learning what her goals are, learning what her passions are, seeing how I can be a part of, what makes her excited. If I'm not investing in that relationship, I'm just telling everybody else about it. Like, it's like being a Christian, wearing the cross and, saying, hey, I'll pray for you, and quoting scripture, telling people, wearing the Jesus is King t-shirt, like, but not actually spending time with Jesus the King. I mean, we all, I think it's, we've all been there. Yeah. Yeah. We've all been there. And it's like, there, there's something, it's like you start going through and it's like, man, why does this relationship feel distant? And it's like, God's never moved. God's always been there. But, we're going through a time in our life where we've moved away from it. And it's like the, I find those times that are going really well for me are the times that I really need to pause and like check myself. Like, where's my walk with God at? Because it's easy to be really close and intimate in that relationship when things aren't going well. Like, when my wife and I, when we have a disagreement or we have a fight, it's really easy to really invest hard in that relationship after that, right? Because we can tell there's something wrong here. There's a problem. Um, if one of us gets in a car accident or one of us is sick, it's easy to be really invested during the hard times. It's like when we go through challenging times in life, it's really easy to be on point with our walk with God then. Because it's like you were saying, it's those Hail Mary prayers. It's kind of like, oh, wait, where's God at? Where's God at? I really need him now. But when things are going well, he doesn't go away. We turn and we start thinking that we can do it on our own. It's like, okay, God, thanks for your help. Get me here. Now let go of the bike. I want to ride it on my own. Like my daughter, I'm helping her across the road on her bike, and no, Dad, I got it. It's like, okay. I let her go and she falls and she cries, and then I have to get her again, right? And it's like, that's what God does. He's sitting there trying to help us, and we're looking at him like, no, God, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, you can go back to doing what you're doing now. I'm going to drive. And we make way better passengers than we do drivers. And we all fall into that trap. But
That's so good,
um,
man. That's really good. I love your analogies with that. Is I'll stray and I'll think I can do it my way. Oh God, I got this. And that can be with me in business of a business decision or just anything in life. I'm like, I think please, I got it. I don't even think about it. And then it's like God just smacks me in the face. And he's like, dude, you don't got it. Like you said, he hasn't moved. We're the ones that stray. I love that, man.
Yeah, it's what Tripp said, we that's us start thinking we start acting on our way, and our way is trash, bro. And I love that. Like
Yeah, dude.
my way is trash compared to what God's got.
Trip hit on so many good things, man. I love that episode and I love Trip, man. He's awesome. And I think that, yeah, it's trash, man. Like I cannot do this my way. And in my life, I have a many years of evidence that proves I
mhm,
can't do this alone. And I have to always stay connected and stay vertical with God.
yeah,
And it is not easy. And I am so far from perfect. But it's a good thing we don't have to be perfect.
amen. If we could be perfect, we wouldn't need a savior, right? So you said, as you were thinking about going to rehab, you were starting to run. You even went on a run that day. You kind of alluded to there's some more of the story. So when did running start entering the picture for you, and why did it enter the picture for you? Because like you said, you hate running. So what brought that into existence?
So my dad has run, and you met my dad at Mid State, I think, last year, and
Mm-hmm.
he's run my whole life, and he's always throwing it in my face. I've been running 30 something years. I know more than you now. It's funny, and we have a great relationship. more so now than ever, and that's a lot of that's through running. And I've watched him run. He's the most disciplined person I know, and I've had a front row seat to that my whole life. And he's run my whole life, and he's always told me that running will change your life. And he's a very wise guy. And looking back, it's like there's so many pivots in my life as he's told me that. And if I would have just listened, maybe things would have gone a little different. But yeah, I've watched him run, and I remember I was thinking about this today on my run, kind of like when because I hate running, and I would always kind of get in. I would always go. I remember very vividly running a half marathon with no training because my dad would always get me to sign. I remember watching my dad do a half marathon, and I was in 8th grade, and I went with him, and that might as well. He might as well have been running the Moab 240 at that time of 13 miles, and I could not believe he did 13 miles. And I was a young kid, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna finish this." And he would finish it, and I was like, "Man." And he would always encourage me as I was getting into high school, and even after high school when I was kinda in those on that long road as he would ask me to run these races, and finally, I took him up on it. And I ran a half marathon with no training, and I was overweight, and it was brutal. And I did it, and I was like, "That was really, really hard," and I felt great. But then I was in the throes of addiction, and when I really started running, it was about a year it was about a year before I got sober. It was about 9 months before I got sober, I started running, and I was I was 265 pounds. I got up to 265, which for me I did not look good at all at 265. Like, I was 170 when I graduated high school, so I was never a big kid. And then I remember just I was drinking a lot, and my weight got up to 265, and I felt horrible about myself. I was super insecure. Like, it was to a point where I didn't even wanna get in any photos. I was like, "I look horrible." And so I went out, and I remember I remember doing a 10K. I have a long kind of run-in where I'm in and out, but I remember I did a 10K when I got home from rehab the first time. I was 22. I did a Thanksgiving turkey trot, 10K, and I would do that, and I would get to, like, mile 4, and I walked the last 2 miles because it was so hard. And so I hated it. And then I would get to that 265 pounds, and I went and bought a pair of running shoes. And I remember I was 265 pounds. I bought a pair of Hoka, maybe Rincons, and I said, if I go spend $150, then I'll have to run. And I remember watching all these running documentaries when I was that heavy, and I would watch all these documentaries, and I'm like, man, that would be really cool. Like, this is what I want to do, but I was just too fat. Let's just call it like it is. I was a heavy guy, and I finally made the decision, felt so bad about myself. I went and bought a pair of Hoka, and I ran 3 miles, 2 miles that night in like a like 15-minute pace. Heart rate was like 170. And then I would just do that, and I would do that every day, most days, and it took a long time, and I weight started coming off. I would finally get sober. I signed up for a marathon, went to rehab in my marathon training block. And I remember signing up for rehab, it was like July. I got sober September. And I was remember being so bummed that I had to go to rehab for 2 weeks. It messed up my training. And so I remember and then my dad told me when I was in rehab, he said, I'm gonna do that marathon with you. He's only done one marathon. He was a half marathon guy. And so he would do that marathon, and I would get out of rehab, and I had to retrain my mind of how to run because I was running fueled by kratom. And if you don't know what kratom is, it's basically a painkiller. It's like synthetic heroin. It just numbs you. And so I would take that before every run, and it would just get me fired up, and I would just go hammer miles. And so my brain and everything was all messed up, and I get sober, run the marathon. And then 3 months later, 50K. I'm signing up for a 50K, and it was just, and that's kind of all she wrote with the ultra running, and that's kind of how I haven't really stopped since. And yeah,
So you hit that marathon. Um, how'd you feel after that marathon?
I felt incredible, man. It was
Did you?
so hard. It was so hard. I remember like just weeping the last mile, just in so much tears of like, I'm like yelling at myself like, 6 weeks ago I was in rehab, and now
That's
I'm
so cool.
like on some David Goggins stuff. Like I was so fired up, and then I was just like, just it was such a, it was like a spiritual experience those last couple miles of that marathon of like, man, this is it, man.
I so I it's crazy because our stories. I got myself up to like I was at like 285 at my heaviest, and this was during COVID. And a guy from college that I knew, I didn't really know him that well in college, but we knew each other well enough, and he reached out to me and wanted to start a Facebook fitness group. He was a beach body coach, and there was another beach body coach, and they were like trying to motivate people during COVID when all the gyms are shut down. And so it was like Team Caleb versus Team Ray, and each one of them were recruiting people to do this challenge. So you signed up for one on one of those teams, and it was like based on body or weight loss percentage, like body weight percentage lost. And I was like, it was $90 to do it for 90 days, and I was like, I spent more money on dumber stuff. Like, I'll go waste $90. This won't work though. And in that challenge, each week they would give us a physical challenge to complete for the week. So whatever that looked like, and one of the weeks was a 5K a day. And before that, I ran my first 5K maybe a year before that. And I remember training for that 5K. And I took like 2 weeks off of running afterwards because I needed to give my body a break from the 5K. And then we signed up for this 5K a day. And I'm like, dude, last time I did that, I like had to take a lot of time off. I can't do one a day. And then I was like, wait, do we have to run it? And he's like, no, you just got to walk it and complete 5K a day. So in any way that you can, get 5K in. I'm like, well, I can walk 5K. It just might take a while. And so I started doing that. And then I think that week I lost like 5 or 6 pounds. It was in the middle of the summer. I'm walking in the middle of the day, 3 miles a day. And I just started, like, I was sweating so much that I just lost so much weight. And I was like, I'm just going to do this every day for the rest of the challenge. I'm going to do 5K a day. And so then I tried to see how many days I could go by doing 5K a day. And
And
5K, you mean 3.1 miles, not 5K. We're talking about miles, right?
yeah, 3 miles. So I was doing a 5K a day, 3 miles a day. And um, so I started losing some weight with it. I was like, oh, that was great. I was doing some running here and there with some other things, and my first marathon I kind of got peer pressured into. I never had any desire to do a marathon. I signed up for a half marathon that kept getting delayed because of COVID. So they delayed it 1 year. I was supposed to run it in 2020. It got or 2019. It got delayed till 2020. Got delayed again till 2021, or 2 years in between there somewhere. And so I ended up running my first marathon before I ever ran my first real half marathon, because it kind of just fell into me like that. But when I got done with it, like similar to what you were saying, like it was this awful experience, but it was like towards the end, it like hurt so bad, but I knew I was going to finish this, like something that I never thought was possible. That like when I was done, I was like, okay, well, what else is possible? Like, what else can I do? If, I did that and I didn't die, like what else is next? So you jumped right from that to 50K. And then, that was 4 years ago that you did your first marathon then.
I did my first marathon December of 2022, and then I would do another marathon March, that next March. So I would do the Myrtle Beach Marathon in 2023, and then I believe that May was my first 50K. So I was moving quick. And then I did the Georgia Jewel 50 miler that fall.
Mm.
And all this I had gotten down. It's funny. My weight has fluctuated so much over the last like 10 years. I've been like, my girlfriend Ansley gives me so much stuff. We go so much crap about this. That she's like, since I've morphed into so many people, like my weight has fluctuated so much. And I remember I was 265. When I was sober, I was 190, and that's really small for me. And then I got all the way back up. You talk about addiction to food, man. I got sober and turned to food. I would go run 6 miles and then I would pound Ben and Jerry's every night and just pound cookies and ice cream nonstop. And I was 240 pretty quick. And that's running at 240 is not easy.
Mm-mm.
And that is it, and so, you know, people tell me today, they're like, I gotta knock some weight off and then I'll start running. I'm like, brother, you have no idea. You run and then the weight will come off. And that was my experience. And yeah, it took a long time to get that off. And yeah, but
Yes.
I was around 240 during both of these marathons, and it was tough.
So do you think running has been a big, obviously faith as well, but what role has running kind of played in like keeping your mindset focused and away from addiction? Or do you think you still struggle with it? It just might show up in different ways.
I For me, running is definitely like my it's like it's definitely my therapy. I am a much better person if I'm running. If I'm actively training and I'm running and I'm putting in, it doesn't even have to be a lot of miles, but if I'm just doing something every day to have that quiet time with, for me, it's like I kind of work, I wrestle with God during my runs. It's like I'm just talking to God, shooting stuff back and forth. I'm praying. It's like it's really like therapy. Like I don't take any psych meds today, and that is like my psych med. Like I have to run, man, and if I'm not running, I'm not. I cannot be. I'm hard to be around,
Mm.
and I hate that it's like that. And some people say I switched my addiction to running. That's fine, brother, because running's not going to kill me. You
Yeah.
know, at least not yet. And so, like, if I'm running, man, and the more I'm running, the more tapped in I am with God, and yeah, it's kind of like the foundation. You know, obviously God's the foundation, but running is, not a lot of people understand it. But like, I gotta run, man.
Yeah, I've heard a lot growing up about having some people call it a prayer closet or like your space to spend time with God, right? And it's like growing up, there was this one pastor, like he had a closet in his room and he had like a sheepskin rug down there. He had his Bible down there, and it was like his sacred place. That's where he went to, be fully immersed in his time with God. And like as you were saying, I'm like, I've never really had that place. Um, I've never really had a spot where this is my spot that I can be with God. And as you were just saying that, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, my spot is with my running shoes outside. And I love that because that spot can be with you anywhere you're at. It's like when you travel and you're on vacation, you still have your spot. It's just a pair of running shoes. And there's something very spiritual about running, especially when you're not when you're not using headphones and you're not like distracting yourself. Not saying I do that every time. I would say 99% of the times I run, I have nothing in my ears. There's very few times. If I'm on a treadmill, I'm usually watching a YouTube a podcast or something. But if I'm outside, I don't have anything on. Um, and there's something that just like you strip away all the distractions that keep you from um, really just thinking clearly and dealing and thinking about the stuffs that you try to suppress most of the time, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. Like you're doing things, you're staying busy, you're talking to people, you're watching shows, or you're listening to podcasts, you're doing all these things to avoid confronting those things, those thoughts, those just that stuff that is kind of buried underneath all that noise. You're avoiding it. And when you go out and run, there's nothing to distract you from that. It's like eventually that's going to come out and it's going to come up and you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I got to deal with this. And that's been my time to just, God, how do you want me to handle this? Like, this is an area of my life that I'm struggling in. It's obvious I'm struggling in it. It's obvious to people around me I'm struggling in it. Like, what do you want me to know about it? What does your word say about it? And then, I'm getting done with my run. I'm sitting in my car and I'm Googling or I'm looking up verses that go with that topic or something. And I'm finding out what the truth is about those thoughts and those feelings. So is that kind of similar for you?
Definitely, man. It's funny. Some of my most impactful runs, most where I feel God the most, there's nothing in my ears. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
headphones. I don't even have my phone. And those are like the best runs. And lately, I haven't been the best about that. I've been bringing my headphones. I've been bringing my phone. I got the podcast. I'm doing some audiobooks right now that I'm enjoying. But it's definitely like my favorite thing ever is going on a trail run with no phone, no headphones. And I need to do more of that. I'm glad we're talking about this because those are where like you have nobody. It's just you. You can't distract yourself with your phone. You can't distract just like mid state, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It's it's just you and God, man, and then the people around you. But most of the time I'm running by myself. I enjoy running alone. I do. I got some brothers that run, in the town we're in. We got a pretty good group of guys that do it, but a lot of us are busy and it's hard for us to kind of string together, plan some runs. But when we do, I always enjoy those. But definitely like it is very, very a sacred place, man. Just being in the trail, whatever is going on in your life, you just have that time. And you don't even have to be running. You don't have to run to have this place. I think I would encourage anybody to just walk. I'm doing a lot of walk. I do a lot of walks now. Like if I'm wrestling with something in business or life, or I'll just go for a walk in my neighborhood, or I'll go on a 20-minute walk. I've been trying to do more of that and bringing no phone. And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's hard, man, because I'm addicted to my phone and I'm not proud of it. But if I can definitely disconnect, and that's definitely, I feel like, more
Yeah,
impactful.
there's something about spending time in nature, whether that's walking, running, bike riding, any of that kind of stuff. So, especially now that it's summer, like I encourage you get people that are listening, like you don't have to be an ultra runner, you don't got to go sign up for a marathon to get what Cale and myself are referring to here. It can start with a 20-minute walk around your neighborhood. Like after dinner, go on a walk. Number one, there's nothing better for your food digestion than going on a good walk after dinner.
That's it, man.
Get some exercise, but you're gonna feel better. You're gonna sleep better. You're gonna have less stress, and you'd be surprised what a 20-minute, 30-minute walk can do for you. So I want to. We still got some more stuff I want to talk about. So are
So
you
are you
good to
good to
keep
keep
going?
I'm
going for a little
chilling,
bit?
man. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here.
Um, so maybe I have this wrong. Did you and your dad, were you and your dad part of any of the 3 of 7 project stuff?
Yeah, we've done a lot of their races.
Okay. What was one of the races you've done, and what are some like impactful lessons you've taken away from the 3 of 7 project?
Man, first off, love the 3 of 7 project, and Chad and Blake and Chili and all everything that they're doing and what they stand for. I mean, I've kind of found them, through the running space, and they put on, to me, the best races. Mid state, I mean, top tier. Don't get me wrong, love mid state, family basically at this point, and but 3 of 7, I mean, top tier community, like minded
So
dudes.
3 of 7 project, for those that don't know, it's an organization ran by a couple people, but the main one being Chad Wright. He's a former Navy SEAL. Um, and they do a few different races throughout the year. And they also have some things called the Rite of Passage. And I've talked to a couple people that have done that, but the Rite of Passage courses are basically a 24-hour course where it's basically a ruck, right? It's like a 100-mile um, ruck for 24 hours and can't sit down. But it's basically teaching you that you know you can do hard things. It's to help build some lessons along there. But so you've done a few of their races, correct, Kale?
Yeah, I've done 3 or 4 of them. Yeah.
Okay, so what's been your favorite race? What is something you've learned from the 3 to 7 project that's kind of helped you along your way in the last few years?
They put on a well, they put on, as far as I know they just added their "Don't Die in the Chair, Last Man Standing." I have not
Hmm.
done that um, yet. I should say I'm interested in it in the future, but they put on a race. Is at Sloppy Floyd State Park. So they're based in Georgia, Rome, Georgia, I believe, or around there, which is about an hour and some change from me, maybe an hour and a half. And so every race they're putting on, me, my dad, and all, I mean, there's a good handful of guys that all follow along with their stuff, and went up there for it's a Sloppy Floyd State Park. I believe it's a 4 mile. It's timed races. So really, there's 4 mile, 4 hours, 6 hour, 8 hour. I believe it's just 4 hours and 8 hours now, and you just run the loop as many times as you can. And to me, what my favorite thing about their races is the community. Not only do you have like the best aid station at any race, I mean, they got all the good stuff. You got Chad yelling at a bullhorn at you. I mean, you get a pre-race speech from Chad Wright, brother, you're going to be ready to go. And just the community, to me, the favorite. What I was saying, the favorite, what they attract and what they bring to the table. It's just like-minded dudes who love the Lord. They love running, and they just want to do something hard. And so it was at Sloppy Ford State Park. It's one of the toughest climbs other than Midstate that I've ever experienced. And I don't think they're doing it this year. And it's a spring race. I don't believe that they're doing it. I know they're doing the Mountain Mama Farms, but I've done the Sloppy Ford State Park race. It's like a 4 mile loop, and it's a tough loop. I've done the 4 hours there and the 8 hours there, and then the Mountain Mama Farms race. It's in Somerville, Georgia, which is kind of right by Rome. Did that 2 years in a row, and it's on a private farm. They cut out a little trail in the farm, and there's a 4 hour and an 8 hour. And I know Doug did that. Doug had a great effort there. That was right when I was meeting Doug, and it's a flat loop. It's not an elevated loop. It's on a farm, and you just run with cows. There's cow poop everywhere. I mean, it's like, dude, it's right at home. And same thing, like the people it attracts, and usually me and my dad go up there, and some other buddies, and we'll either carpool or we'll meet up there, and it's just a great your family. It's just a great. The good thing about it is you can bring your kids, you can bring your family, and they just sit right there, and it's like Midstate. You do the loop, 4 mile or whatever it is, and then you see them they don't have to move, and they can just hang out in the sun, and it's a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's more the atmosphere at the Tennessee Mile, right? Is you know, with the timed loop, it's coming through. It's a little bit more laid back.
Just like the Tennessee Mile,
Yeah.
I've never done the Tennessee Mile, but from what y'all have said, it's you have 8 hours and you can just run.
You've never done it yet, right?
I have not done it yet. That is correct.
All right, I got a couple more questions for you. These are just some fun ones to finish. So, um, what would you tell a younger version of yourself who's sitting on the couch, maybe in, you know, a place that's pretty tough, and they don't believe that change is possible? What's something you would tell yourself?
That's a great question. I would just tell myself to and change is possible, and I would encourage myself to lean into God and to find people to talk to about it.
Hmm.
Or wherever you're at, if someone's sitting there and you're struggling and you don't think that you can start running, or you don't think you can make a change, you absolutely can make a change. And I know what that's like. And I know I've been there. And I think definitely you have to lean into your faith. As hard as that, I know that's easy to say from the bleachers and you're not in it, but You have to lean into God, and you have to. I think you just have to take a step, take that step of faith, and whatever it is. If it's with running, like just start walking. Literally start walking 20 minutes a day. Or if it's with a job, if it's with anything in life, I would just encourage them to just take that leap of faith.
Yeah, one thing you said there, and I kind of remember hearing it as you're talking about your story, is find somebody to talk to. And I've met your mom and your dad. I met them both last year at Mid State when I got out embarrassingly early and had a lot of time to watch you and Doug continue on with your loops. But I got to spend a lot of time with your mom and dad, and they were, salt of the earth, great people. And as you were talking about like their support for you every time, it wasn't like, oh, here goes Cale again. Like it was, no, you're going. Like you're getting out of here, you're going. And it was like full belief and support. And you know, that's incredibly important, is to have people. There's a lot of people that feel like they don't have anyone, that nobody cares, and family may be sick of hearing it, and they think, man, I'm just a burden, I don't want to, I can't talk to my family about it. There's always somebody that you can talk to, and today's day and age, it is easier than ever to find people to talk to. um, but if you're in that spot and you're where Carol was, you're sitting there and you don't feel like change is possible, that's what these episodes are for. And we would love to connect with you. You can connect with me, or you can connect with Cale, and I'm sure either one of us would be there to help talk with you. So if you don't have anybody and you're going through that and you feel like, man, I just need somebody to reach out to, I'd encourage you to reach out to someone, even if they're a stranger.
Um,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's hard to do it alone. You can go much further with people. A network of people is very has been very impactful and important for me.
Last question. So this is the Warriors Way podcast, and uh, I've never asked this question to anybody. It was one that I just thought of because I like wanted to tie it back in. But what does being a warrior mean to you?
Mm, that's deep. I like it. Being a warrior to me, man. I think being unafraid, being a man of God, doing what you say you're gonna do. I mean, to me, it's a kind of it's just an abundance of thing. It's just being unafraid, being unashamed, having no fear, man, and it you get knocked down, you get back up. Life hits you down, you get back up, and you just keep moving forward. And like I said, whatever that looks like, and it's just being a warrior, man. When you say warrior, it instantly thinks I think of like mid state and those deep. When you get deep into a race, it's like you just gotta go. You just gotta turn into. Sometimes you just gotta be a warrior, man. And that's like I said, it's continuing to move forward and being a man of faith, a man of God, and being unafraid.
yeah, I like what you said.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like if I can answer that any type of way, I think it's that.
Yeah, I like what you said. Like, you know, when you're in the battle, like when I think of warrior, I think of someone who's seen battle and who is fighting the battle, right?
That's right.
Like,
That's it.
It's it's not somebody who's just got like this pristine, undented and unblemished armor. It's somebody who is like battle scarred and they are in it. And it's like, how do you act when you're in it? Are you
That's it.
are you a man who does what they say they're going to do? Are you a man that shows up? Are you a man that keeps fighting and gets back up? Or are you a man that turns and looks for the quickest way out of the battle? You know,
Come on.
and
that's one thing that I'm sure it's taught you that as well. But running has taught me is like the point is not to get out of the battle. The point is not like a lot of times we look at a race like, and even I do sometimes, is I look for the end of the race. Like I just want this thing to be over. From the time I start, I'm just looking for that finish line. I'm looking for whether it's a 5K, half marathon or marathon. most of the time when I'm in that race, I just want to get to the finish line. I just want it to be over. And races like mid-state, though, they're ones that there is no finish line, and you almost your destination almost has to be the battle. Like, I am doing this to get to the battle, and then my goal is to stay in the battle and fight as as strong as I can for as long as I can.
And
Come on, man. Yeah.
that's
For like that warrior's made. So
That's it, dude. My dad always tells me, he says, you're either a warrior or you're not.
yeah.
Like he was yelling that at mid state one year. I remember I would come down the hill and he'd yell, "You're either a warrior or you're not." And it's like, that's it,
Uh,
man. Like, who are you when things get hard and when you're in the battle? How are you going to act? And
I
that's
love
why I
that.
love ultra running. That's why mid state, there's no hiding out there.
all right, Cale, where can people connect with you?
Man, I'm on Facebook, Facebook. I sound so old. Instagram, mainly Instagram. Cale Jackson. I don't really know my handle, but I think it's Cale Jackson one. You can find me on. I'm on Strava. I'm on all the things, I think.
I'll make sure I have your handles correct, and I'll put them in the show notes. So if you want to connect with Cale, jump down in the notes. It'll have the link to his Instagram, and I'll put his Strava in there too, so you can follow him and see all the crazy things he's up to. And once again, Cale, thank you for taking time tonight to have a conversation with me on the podcast. And I'm encouraged, and I know I got a lot from your story. I know that others will as well. Thanks again for just being open and vulnerable and sharing your story. And you need to share it more, man. You have a lot of good stuff to offer people.
You the man, Tim. Thank you for having me, man. I enjoyed this time. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours, but I know we got to get
Yeah, we
going.
really
But
could. We
man,
really could.
yeah, I'm honored again to be on it. I had a good time and looking forward to maybe I'll see you down in Franklin, Tennessee in December. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have Trip come and like throw you in the back of the car.
Or something,
Yeah,
because
dude, we got to
I
get
think
together,
he's
man.
excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I've seen him signed up yet, but I'll have to take a look.
Yeah.
If he
I'm gonna
signs
need
up,
a
I'll have
group.
to
I need
jump
to get
in.
a group.
Chat going so we can peer pressure each other. But once again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to the show. If this show is impactful to you at all, if it spoke to you, I would love it if you would like, comment, connect with us in some way. But the most important thing, I would love it if you would share it with one other person. Not so this podcast can get all kinds of visibility, but I truly believe that there's men out there that are fighting battles on their own, and they don't need to. Something like this can help them, maybe encourage them to reach out to one other person, and maybe you can be that encouragement by reaching out to them. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.